Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Krida Talks podcast. Today, with us, we have a football certified coach, a fitness coach, an analyst, and a scout. It is Ryan Roy Shah with us. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good, fantastic. Just trying to make the most out of this period where there's enough time for us to spend with our families and
Yeah,
to keep improving as a coach.
yeah. So, how has this quarantine been?
So most of my friends, colleagues, whoever I know, everyone is rightly so. Everyone's waiting for this to end as soon as
Yeah,
possible. But so am I. So am I. It's not normal to be off the field for so long. But
yeah,
what I'm trying to do is try and make it as productive as possible. So what I'm doing is I've got the chance finally
yeah.
from our usual busy schedule to go on to paid subscriptions online, to look at more books, read a few more books, do some research on different coaching methodologies. So I'm trying to create a situation where once I'm back on the field, I'm actually theoretically more more knowledgeable kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. So, now that we have started with the whole pandemic thing and all, I would like to know how do you think these times or the pandemic is going to change and how it's going to affect the coaching academies and the clubs in the future?
Yes, so there's going to be a very, very big change specifically to these pay as you play academies. So, the ones where parents pay fees and the kids come
Yeah,
and train. The major reason, it's all a cycle. The major reason is that due to the pandemic,
yeah,
many parents, many people, professionals have either lost their jobs or they have had to take a pay cut. Some of them even have had to take a 50% pay cut.
yeah,
So we can't forget that a lot of parents who are putting their kids in, they are using their disposable income. So this is
yeah,
not like you can't count this as a essential, as a necessity, you see. So due to that, what I expect, at least at our academy, is there will be dropouts specifically for this, because many of the parents, we can't forget, they are not privileged to have enough disposable income that they can just set aside, being like, okay, Corona's over, we can just resume as normal. Now,
yeah,
as a result of the dropouts, the academies will have to now, for coaches, they may have to look at how many coaches to keep, how much to spend on equipment. So financially, it's gonna change a lot. I can't make a specific judgment that this is going to happen, but I feel that this is how it's majorly going to happen. And also with the professional clubs, it's happening not just in India, it's happening abroad with many in England, many championship clubs, League One
yeah,
clubs. Even if you look at Tottenham Hotspur, for example, they
yeah,
have laid off a few of their back end staff and all that. So
yeah,
with the I League, here the problem is that professional clubs don't really earn profit as such yet.
hmm,
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the contracts of their key staff, so their
yeah,
players, their coaching staff, the medical staff, the directors, and things like that. So that it'll be interesting to see how
yeah.
it unfolds.
Also, what I have seen is that over here in the clubs, they don't have a long-term contracts. So, apart from the players, if there is a working staff or the back-end staff, they are only on a one-year contract or a two-year contract, unless you are on a bigger position. So,
Right.
how is that going to affect them?
So, because they are on, as you said, most of the clubs, most of the I League clubs and the ISL clubs, where if you are not a marquee kind of player, so if you are not a Chetri or a Jingan,
Yeah,
or an Udanta or something, you can expect to only have a 1 year contract. That's how
yeah,
it is majorly.
yeah,
What I hope is, what for the welfare of the players, I hope that they are not suddenly just released,
yeah,
because it makes financial sense to the club owners, to the decision makers upstairs, that if there's no clarity on what the tournament is going to be like, what the entire ecosystem is going to be like, it's easy for
hmm,
them to just be like, okay, this is your contract done, we'll have to terminate it. And I just hope that very quickly they do. There needs to be a decision made firstly by the government, and after
yeah,
that by the AIFF, that this is what's happening, because without that clarity, it's again hard to comment. It's we are all in this obscure kind of situation where we can't predict anything.
yeah.
So the ones who have 2 year and like some of them at BF's Bengaluru, they have 3 year contracts. They are lucky, but yeah, it is tough times for everyone on 1 year contracts. Players, coaching staff, everyone included.
Yeah, true. So let's talk about football academies. So if you don't know, Ryan has his own football academy. It's the Mega Pro Football Academy. Could you tell us more about that?
So I had started this in 2017. I registered it in 2017
Yeah.
as like with, of course, everyone starts with eager plans. So I had put in a good amount before I even got a ground and got players in, got coaches in. I wanted to do it in a different ways. So I spent around the figure of 40,000 to make it a private limited company, this and that,
Okay.
because my plan is to have a long term thing, not a fly by night thing.
Yeah.
In 2018, we started our first center, and our entire aim till now for the near future is that we won't call ourselves an elite academy. So we are not a academy that is affiliated with a pro club or something like that. It
Okay.
is a bridge. It's a bridge between raw talent coming to
Yeah.
us for a year or two, and then making it to the youth teams of a professional club or a professional academy. So far, we have had two girls who have gone on to play for the district team, for the state team. We have got a couple of boys who are playing for the junior team of professional clubs. So that's our role. We are just bridging the gap, and that is one main reason why I even started this academy, because I felt that there's no feeder, there's no bridge for players who are not good enough to become good enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are enough academies, but no one who has a proper pathway as such, that you do this for 1 year and then 2 years and then off you go, kind of thing. So we are constantly talking to every club in the city, every academy that's better than us, to say, come, keep coming to our academy and take our players. Please take our players. We want to offload them because we need greener pastures for them.
But so what are the difficulties you face during this? Because you, as you said, you are not affiliated with clubs. You are not an elite academy. You are taking people off grassroots. You're trying to build a grassroots, not even taking off grassroots. So how does that affect in the running of the business?
So it does not. Reason being that we are very clear about it. We don't say that we are that you join us and this is what's going to happen. We are just a training center. So
Okay.
we try and be as modest as possible. So although we have a record of having players who constantly make it to a bigger level, we try not talking about that. We try
Okay.
and we don't tell parents that these are the players who have come to us and gone there. For the parents and every prospective client, it is that this is going to be a fun after school training center. It's a
Okay.
different case that all our coaches are highly qualified. We plan our sessions a week in advance. We try and run it as a professional club and academy, but we don't tell people about that. So that's why, because we have not given any hopes to anyone, any hopes, and you can call it false hopes, you can call it big dreams or anything like that, we are not really answerable. So we try and give parents more than what they have expected. So parents feel that, okay, this is like a recreational after school academy, but then they have that delight that, wow, our kid is now playing for the state team.
Yeah.
So that's how we run it. And I feel,
Okay.
if as long as we are honest with everyone else, we work to the best of our ability, there's nothing that can affect us.
Yeah. So as you are a coach yourself, and you might have coaches under you, or you coaches which you work with, what are the job opportunities in the market right now in terms of coaching and fitness coaching?
So when you say right now, do you mean during the pandemic or the Indian ecosystem in general?
Let's take the general ecosystem, but also factor in that now that the pandemic has taken place, how will it affect later on?
Okay, so in the general ecosystem wise, the so coaching as a profession is always going to be a challenge anywhere in the world, because there are in a squad, in any squad, be it in the professional club or at a youth academy, you will have 25 to 30 players in the squad, but you will have, at max, if it's really professional, you will have five coaches: the head coach, the assistant, the goalkeeping coach, the fitness coach, and one, maybe a team manager or something like that. So these are
Yeah.
five football staff that you can
Mm.
say. So
Yes.
that will always be a challenge, because there are so many coaches that exist in India, in the world. It's always, I believe, more difficult to get a job as a coaching staff rather than a player. Although players getting a club or an academy as a player is very challenging. What I feel is that there is no shying away. So there's no way of you know trying to use shortcuts in order to get a job, because it's so challenging. So come what may, the best ones get a job, and I feel it's a good thing. It's a good thing because this leaves us with all the coaches who are genuinely dedicated to their profession.
Yeah.
You'll
True.
If you notice, there are many coaches who will get their AIFFD license done, and they'll try it for a year. And for many coaches, they get into the game thinking that, yeah, we have done our education, we like playing football, so let's try our hand at making our passion our profession. But as easy as it is to sound that let's make, and as cool as it sounds that let's make our passion our profession, it's a very hard thing unless there is hours of back end studies, unless there is a proper plan you have on how to develop the players. You're one of the Joneses, you're one out of the 5,000 or whatever the number is of licensed coaches in Maharashtra. So
Yeah.
that's why it's get that element of honesty into it. That either you're dedicated at your profession. You have to have a genuine love for coaching, not love for the game, not
Yeah.
being a massive Real Madrid or Barca or United fan. You have to have a love for the profession of coaching, which involves developing players. So unless you do that, I'm sorry, most people they resign. They decide that let's go back to our corporate jobs because it's hard to make a name in the game.
Yeah.
So I think that will always be the challenge. Be it a coach, be it a goalkeeping coach, be it a fitness coach. Now, since you have mentioned fitness coach, I feel a little bad for them when it comes to football because fitness coaches, they put a lot of studies into their sports science degree and
Yeah.
numerous CPDs that they do. But unfortunately, as football administrators or whatever, we don't recognize how important they are to us.
Yeah.
So when we are setting up budget, that okay, this is going to be put for this profession, for this occupation, this for this occupation, we believe that a football coach can look after the fitness.
Yeah.
They definitely can, because in all the courses they teach us about fitness, but not at the level of what a certified or a completely specialist fitness coach can do.
True.
And I believe that having a professional fitness coach helps in terms of money, because you are spending X amount on their salary. But then think about, because of the prehab measures that they put in place, how many injuries can be avoided. And because those injuries can be avoided, you have a player playing available more often than not, and that way you're saving more money, because imagine you're spending X on one person to
Yeah.
prevent injuries. That's better than spending X of a higher salary to a player who's not available to you.
Yeah. True. So yeah. So
So that's that.
I
And you mentioned about the current the pandemic situation, the current
yes.
affairs. So I feel everyone is doomed right now, be it a player, be it anyone. In fact, if people at top positions at a well-known corporate are facing tough times, then
Yeah.
I'm sure we can expect us in football to go through the same.
Yeah. So you said about education and what efforts you have to put behind becoming a coach. So when the clubs are appointing coaches, what are the educational qualifications they are looking at?
So when it's a professional club, they look at what license you have. Do you
Okay.
have a D? Do you have a C, B, A, or Pro? If you're a pro club, a professional club, you're usually looking at the pro license people, and after that, the A license people. What I like about the AIFF is that they have set up these, for whoever's registered as a AIFF affiliated academy, that
Yeah.
they have these kind of guidelines that if you're running an under 18 team, your coach has to be of this license, their assistant has to be of this license. So that way, the AIFF are ensuring that people who have actually spent their time, their resources, their effort, they are the ones who are getting the jobs. And also for the coaches, they have a end, like they have a aim. There's something at the end of whatever they do, that okay, we'll get this done and now we'll coach in this tournament, be it the I League or be it whatever tournament. So I think that way education, this coach education that the AFF are putting in is helpful.
Okay. So I would also like to take a step back and talk about grassroots. So right now it's pretty much stagnant, but what are the steps which you think are important which need to be taken in India to improve our grassroots development?
Yeah, so grassroots, number one, it's not only, when people talk about grassroots, they feel that it's the 7-year-old who can't kick a ball. It's not just that. A 50-year-old who has never kicked a ball is also part of the grassroots.
Yeah.
So it's the entry level, it's the proper entry level of football.
Yeah.
The first thing that any country needs to do, there's a pyramid. Now, we talk about India trying to qualify, India should qualify for the World Cup and all. That is the last stage. That's the top stage of the pyramid.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to get down and down. And the first thing with entry level is getting more entries. So increasing the participation.
Yeah.
The only way we can increase the participation is by setting up more provisions for academies. So it's wonderful that at least in Bombay, I know a bit of Bombay because I'm from there actually. I moved to Pune a few years ago.
Okay.
The good part now is that every place you go to, an area within an area has an academy. So
Yeah.
that is good because any parent who has a kid who has a difficult schedule with school and tuitions and a guitar class, so you know how it works. Then
Yeah.
for them it's like, okay, 2 days or 3 days a week, the kid has to cross the road and play football. So that's good. I mean, that way you'll have more kids playing, and
Yeah.
as you have more kids playing, that gives you more of a pool as both an academy and as a youth junior national team and all that, to pick more players. So instead of having to pick 20 out of 1,000, you're able to pick 20 out of a lakh footballers, young
Yeah.
footballers kind of. So as that pool keeps increasing, that at the end the national team coach has got more people to select. So
Yeah.
that's how I think we get developed grassroots.
Yeah. So as you talked about winning the World Cup, so what I personally feel is that what people try to compare is that how in '83 India won the Cricket World Cup, and before that the cricket was not hugely followed in India. But after we got the success, it was that the following of cricket increased. So that's how people try to measure it. But as you said, it's not just that. It's about increasing interest in people to play. So I
Absolutely.
completely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, in 1983, in what India did, it wasn't as big as before. But then we can't forget that every kid or every person who was slightly interested in a sport, they were playing cricket. Be it
Yeah.
in, even if you're playing in your society, or in your uh, in some free area outside your house, that's still counted as playing a sport. So that tradition was always there before independence. So this has been there for many years, and then in 1983 or whatever, the success came kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, as we know that you are also a fitness coach, certified fitness coach.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to know something about Indian people in general. We are not the most gifted people in terms of physical fitness. Some people say
Right.
it's our diet. Some people say it's the genes. What do you think? What
Right.
is the main reason we are
So
lacking?
right. So I'm not gonna paint a wrong picture. So I am qualified as a fitness coach, but not as a football fitness coach.
Yeah.
Being qualified as a football fitness coach means you have to do the AFC conditioning course. So I have
Okay.
not done that because that one can do after completion of your B license and all that. But I am qualifying right now. Right now I am qualifying for the K11. If you have heard of them, it's the
Yeah.
biggest fitness institute for all the gym trainers. So I'm
Yes.
doing a diploma in personal training from K11. I have done my from the IIFEM. There's an organization called IIFEM. So I've done my advanced personal training from there. I've done my nutrition course. I've done a course on strength and conditioning. I've done one on just for information, one on steroid use. There's a course on that. So I've done most of the top qualifications available for a gym kind of professional, not for a football professional. But if we are trying to link that up, then the first thing that we as Indians need to do is pay attention to our diet. So see, the thing is that we can do as much of fitness training and all that, but then if we go and have this much carbs or this much rice and then decide to go to bed before the digestion happens, then you can do as much of fitness as you want. You can run 10,000 kilometers, it may still not really help that much. So I think before we even go into fitness training, we need to look at our diet. And I can't, again, we can't blame ourselves because we as Indians are blessed to have a wonderful Indian cuisine. I mean, who's going to say no to amazing pani puris? You see, so whereas, and I can tell you that India, that way we have an advantage of everyone around the world, because if you go to Europe, you can have your sandwich, or your spaghetti bolognese or something like that. Whereas
Yeah.
over here, you can make Maggie in 100,000 ways. So
Yeah.
so that's how it is. If we are interested in fitness, we may have to put that in a bit under control, and we can be as fit as anyone else.
Okay. Yeah. As you correctly said, we are blessed with great food though.
We have a wonderful cuisine, endless cuisine. So, I mean, before I even got into football, I used to make the most out of that cuisine. Fortunately, my metabolism is such that I don't put on weight, very quickly. But yeah, I mean, I am guilty as well. We all are guilty.
True. So
Yes.
I do follow MMA very closely, and also there's this very wonderful fitness coach or coach in MMA, Faraz Zahabi. He has trained some of the greatest in the game. And what his philosophy is in terms of coaching a person before a fight is that don't give your 100%. Train at 75. Don't do it till failure. And I was surprised with that philosophy. So, do you believe in that philosophy? Before a game, as a coach, would you tell your team to not train full fledgedly?
So there are two ways of looking at it. I mean, this legendary MMA person, he's got the track record to back it.
Yeah,
So it could be right. I mean, maybe, but there are enough coaches, successful coaches in football, who say that the way you train is the way you play.
yeah,
Honestly, I believe that it's important to train at your 100%. That's my opinion, because if you, let's say you're taking training lightly, then what's going to happen during the match is that you're not prepared enough, because you have not exerted your body is not used to it. Suddenly you're going from training at 70% to suddenly playing 90 minutes at 100%. That
yeah.
could then lead to injuries or whatever. Then tactically you're going to be being like, okay, we are doing set pieces, let's just move away from the wall when we are practicing defending free kicks, let's not get hurt and things like that. And then the problem is your mind is already got I mean, how do I explain this? So your mind is already prepared that if while we are defending a free kick, doing that and letting it go past is an option, and
It's a
if that
laid
goes in
back.
as a goal.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, I would personally want players. I would want coaches. So we don't look at ourselves. We coaches like to criticize players. I would want coaches, players. We should all be giving 100% in whatever we do, because that way I would rather give 100% in training and then 90% in the game, than give 70% in training and have the possibility of 60% in a game.
okay.
But then again, I can't say there's any right or wrong, because the MMA person is successful. So,
Yeah.
it works. I mean, different things work for the different people. And that's the benefit of sports. There's no one size fits all kind of
Yeah.
approach.
So where he comes from is that you do not give your all, because so we go for a very quantitative kind of training and not quality. And intensity is there. It's not less intense. It is intense. You are not doing it for failure. So he believes that your body should not be sore after your training. So
Uh,
once you are training, it's like if you are having a sore body, you will train 4 times a week, maybe five if you stretch it. Rather, I do not exert my body and train all 7 days of the week.
so this is again, there's another approach to counter that kind of thing. So soreness happens because of delayed onset muscle soreness. Delayed onset muscle soreness happens because your body is not able to adapt to the sudden change. So I feel that, why is it that football clubs work hard in preseason? It's
Yeah,
because that way the body is getting adapted to the hard work that's going to happen continuously throughout the season. I mean, let's take the I mean, the one of the best footballers in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo.
yeah,
I don't think there's a session where he does not burn himself out completely. And that is again why fitness coaches are important, because they'll ensure that your recovery and things like that are taken care of. So you've trained at your 100%, you've killed your body, but then after that you use your recovery techniques. You use those ice baths, you use those foam rollers. There are a million ways of doing that.
yeah,
And to support, see, again, there are so many ways of doing it. Now, to support his kind of philosophy, Brian Clough, he was one of the best managers there ever was, the late Brian Clough. And
yes,
sometimes what he would do is, before an FA Cup semi-final, he would take his players to the bar and say, everyone, no one's, this is a true story. He said, no one's going to leave the room until you tell a joke that I like. And that was what he did, and it worked out. They beat someone in the FA Cup final. So, there are, again, if there was one rule, then everyone in coaching would be drawing matches. No one
yeah,
would beat anyone, would lose to anyone. So this is
true.
interesting. I mean, it's interesting to know how different people do it in a different way.
Yeah. So, as a coach, you have your own academy. So, in football, so we come from a consumer tech incubator space, and I would like to know what are the new techs which you are interested in terms of coaching, in terms of football, in terms of
So
fitness.
yeah. So the first thing I want to do, I mean, I'm trying it. I've already put a system in place, but with the limited funds we have, we try and record our training sessions using that that handy cam and the tripod stand and things
Yeah,
like that. And we after we gather that, if you look at our YouTube page, Mega Pro Football Academy, you'll find many of our training videos. We don't take those videos to put it on YouTube and advertise. It's more for us
yeah,
to as coaches, while we're on the pitch, we have to look at 10 things. We have to look at so many things. We may look at what the goalkeeper is doing, but we
yeah,
may miss out at that particular time what the striker's movement is like. So what we try and do is we gather that video, we put it on YouTube for whoever wants to look at it and for the players to look at it mainly, so they can see how they have performed. That gives them a bit of motivation and self-reflection opportunity. But for us, we can, with a calm mind, no pressure of putting a training session proper, dealing with different situations at that time, we can just sit with a cup of tea and coffee, watch the entire training session, and then be like, wow, I miss looking at this during the training session. Maybe we, now that one has observed this in a no pressure environment, now we can work on this thing in the next training session. So I am a big supporter of technology in sports in general, and in football it's good that in the ISL you have got so many performance analysts, match
yeah.
analysts, and what I would like to do is there are these companies like Stat Sports, then there is Huddle. So
Yeah,
I've in fact done courses. I've done a Huddle course. I've done a Dartfish course because I'm always interested in how to if not make the team better, at least how to make myself better by using every resource possible. I am now trying to start tagging. So again, I'm mainly a coach. I'm not an analyst, so I can do the basic stuff. I'm going to now start tagging my videos. I'm now going to start making different clips. And it's better, I feel, that, when someone asks a player that, when a player asks a coach that, how was my performance? We usually base it on the observations we have seen, that this and this, you're good at this, you're to improve at this. What I'm going to try and do now is, already it's in plan. This is why Corona is good. You see, you can plan all these things.
yeah,
Take different clips of the month of whichever player it is, and when that player comes to say that, what was my performance like, here's the video, this is what you're good at, this is what you're bad at, this is what, or not bad at, this is what you have to improve at, and this is a report on, according to my judgment on what you can do. So there's evidence behind the feedback I give.
yeah. That's great. Also, you are going for the UEFA B license, right?
Yes, I am. Right.
Yeah.
I'm
So, how
registered.
has the situation changed the goal?
The last email I got from them, because I had already registered myself. The making the payment is still left. I've registered myself. The last mail I got was that everything is on hold until the pandemic gets over, because there's lockdown over there as well. But of course, they have eased it out, so there are certain restrictions, but you can still move around. At that time, it was strict.
Yeah.
I was not sure because this UEFA B from Wales is the most suitable for me. It's a 5 day or 6 day course. I'm not too sure, but it's around 5 or between 5 and 6 days, and that's a big thing I want to do. The UEFA B per se is not just the UEFA B license is not applicable to work at pro clubs in India, because you need to still get it equalized by the AFC, by the AIFF and the AFC. But why I do that is because there are different ways of there's always something to pick up from anything. So there may be someone on the pitch lecturing about something. There's still 1% you can pick out from there. So what I try to do is I've done my C license, which is the C license level 2 or whatever. The C license. I've done it
Yes.
from the English FA, the Welsh FAW, the SFA in Scotland, and the AIFF C license. And I've not till today I've never tried equalizing a license, because I feel that instead of taking a shortcut, may as well go there. And these European courses have really improved me as a coach, next level. So things that I would not pick up, or my teaching, my delivery style, all those have improved because of these courses. Now when it comes to what my plan is for that, the as we when we started talking, it's financially hit everyone, this
Yes.
coronavirus. it's financially hit everyone. Now that UEFA B license is going to cost around 2 lakhs or something. So I need to now make a judgment that how much is my academy going to be making, how much will I be making going to different places to coach and things like that, and then I need to make a forecast, because I have to not only do my UEFA B, I have to also do my Asian B.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm in like unknown territory kind of thing. So until there's a clarity on when life is going to get back to normality, it's a difficult judgment to take. But what I would say to every coach is that, you know, if any course that they get it, that there's a chance to do,
Yeah.
go, may as well go into that. And in terms of courses I've done both online and offline, I'm not kidding, it's crossed 50.
Oh,
Yeah, it's crossed 50. The all on the CV it mentions the main ones, but it's crossed 50. I've done psychology, I've done football medicine, I've done different analysis courses, I've done things like LGBT courses, on how to involve LGBT players, how to involve differently abled players. So I mean, there's no end to gaining knowledge, is there?
yeah. True. 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 So many of the people who are watching would like to pursue their coaching careers and would look up to you. What are the advice that you would like to give them?
The advice is that before they even step into deciding whether to become a coach, they need to have a good, hard talk with themselves that is this a profession that I genuinely dream of doing? Is this a profession that I can see myself doing until my body tells me I can't? This can't be a backup option, or an option that let's see how it goes, because football coaching is a ruthless environment. In senior team football, if you lose a few matches, there goes your job. In junior team football, if you don't develop players enough, there goes your job. In order to successfully achieve these targets, you have to have a madness about the game and also about how to improve players. There
Yeah.
needs to be a constant. Yeah, before you even go for your new AIFF license, the grassroots certificate, before you even go for that, one has to have this conviction that this is what I see myself doing for the rest of my life. And only then, once one has talked to themselves, talked to people who they want to take advice from, who they look up to, only once those boxes are tick marked, yes, that I really dream of, I want to do this in life as a profession, as everything, then you can go on to the license and then keep making your way up on the license path. And more, while licenses are important, work experience is equally important.
Yeah.
When I got into the coaching profession, I did not have a target that okay, let's go into a club, because I wanted to explore every kind of environment there is in youth football. So I went and coached academy level, club level, school level, university level, NGO level. So that way you get every perspective possible. So I think, yeah, the main thing is that you need to, step number one, you need to make sure that this is what you want to do, because it's a ruthless environment, coaching. Step number two is get your certifications done, because that is what will make you get recognized as a actual coach. And step number three is try and get work experience in the first year or two of coaching wherever one can.
Okay. Also, getting to a bit of the financial side of the thing, is coaching a well-paid job in India?
Depends on what level you're doing it at. There is, unlike normal jobs, your every step you go to, the salary increases that way. Now if you're a top coach, if you are let's take names, if you're Khalid Jamil, or if you're a top coach in the industry, then there's no shortage of money. A CEO of a company will be like, this guy works only 3 hours a day and he earns double of what I do. But then that is the minority. That is
Yeah.
a very select few of whoever are doing that.
Yeah.
The next comes to people who are really, like, this is the gap. So you're either here or you're here. There's no middle part in
Middle.
coaching. So if you're not over there earning your lakhs and crores, then you're over here working for $300 a session,
Oh.
$500 a session. You're working as a you're working as a coach, and not only as a coach but as every other role possible, as a tutor, as a mentor, as a first aid person, as everything, for which you get paid 15K, 20K kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, corporates pay 20K, but then after 6 months or a year, that 20K becomes 30K very quickly. Whereas in football, you're stuck at that unless you know do really well in life, and then from there you go directly there. So that's the big challenge about football, and that is why I say that, you know, being knowledgeable, as knowledgeable as you can, being on your top game as much as you can is very important, because it's very easy to for club owners or for employers or for, you know, whoever, be it a school, be it anyone, for them to decide whether you deserve to be here or whether you deserve to be here.
Great.
It is a key profession. It definitely is.
Yeah. Also, you are a football fan. I know you love playing football. Do you love watching football?
I am a massive Manchester United fan, and
Oh,
massive Manchester United fan since 2003. Not since, you know, since Cristiano Ronaldo joined United long ago, or, you know, things like that. It is from a long time, since a very very long time. It's been Manchester United. I watch every game of theirs, that's for sure. But apart from that, because I feel that watching matches educates me more. It
yeah.
helps me with, you know, okay, this is the shape that a team is playing in. It that is like a CPD, like a learning process for me. That's why I try and watch as many Premier League games as I can, because I like to see how a top six team are putting tactics in, and how a bottom 10 team are playing long ball and still getting the results. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. And apart from that, I watch the ISL. I After the Premier League, I watch the ISL, because it's good to know what's happening in our own country. And thereafter, if there's a bit of time left, then I watch a La Liga game here or there. I watch a Serie A game. Right now, we are lucky that at least the German league has resumed. So
Yes.
I'm watching every German league game that I can, and
Yeah.
let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I love how you have to justify that you are not a fan because of Cristiano Ronaldo. Because I have to do the same. I'm a Real Madrid fan, and I have to
Yeah.
justify it every time that I am not a Real Madrid fan because of Ronaldo.
Yes, I mean that's what. So now for Real Madrid fans, this is the next test. That the latest Galactico Hazard, it's
Hazard.
not going as planned. So now you will be stuck with the actual fans.
Yeah. But
And looking at how Real and Barca are going here and there, I won't be surprised if there'll suddenly be Atletico fans coming up from nowhere.
yeah. But Real Madrid being Real Madrid, they are going to plan and buy Neymar and Mbappe. They are going for
Let's see,
Haaland.
let's see. I mean, let's see, because after this pandemic, let's see what finances are like. I mean, will
Yeah.
they have so many millions to spend on someone like that?
Yeah.
Like in the near
True.
future, at least.
True. True. So Ryan, it was a lovely chat. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
So it's mainly been you asking questions and me answering, but I just want to give you a bit of credit for this entire initiative. This, you know, people, organizations like, or initiatives like Krida Talks and things like that. It's good that in these last few years things like this have come up, because earlier there were people in football always doing great things. It's not started 5 years ago. It's been happening since 1950s, but they didn't get that recognition. So it's nice that people, organizations like you are taking these initiatives. You're actually recognizing that talent and making the word spread, because that can only lead to more motivation to people like us in the game, that, you know, like, wow, we have done this and now we are getting recognition for doing our thing. So that's a big motivating factor. And I hope that, you know, you can keep doing this. I saw you had done one with the grassroots king
Yes.
of
Yes.
India, Prashant Singh.
Prashant
You
Singh.
had done one with him, and I hope that you keep, you know, interviewing players, coaches, not just players and coaches, managers, physios, kit men, whoever's
Everyone.
involved in football. So I hope these kind of initiatives keep happening. More
Yeah.
than it's easy for me to come and talk about myself, but it's harder for people like you to plan your questions, get in touch, and that. So it's all like, you people, I believe, are the real stars, and you're actually counted as media. You're in the media segment. So without media, the Premier League would be nothing. You know, so that says it all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you deserve all the recognition there is. And we would
Thank
love to
you.
plan and keep doing what we are doing. And we would love to have you back again on the show in the future again.
Why not?
Hopefully with the
Always
B license.
available for football. Yeah, always available to talk about football.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Ryan.
So
It
yeah,
was a lovely chat.
thanks a lot to you for taking time out for this. And I hope that you can get some other people on your show.
Surely,
Continue with
surely,
the.
surely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool, and thanks a lot
great.
today.
You're welcome. And great chat.
See you. Take care.